Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, I guess. Thank you for joining me. I'm Helen with One Structural, and today we're going to be doing a Balcony One presentation all about our element count and how we prepare your proposals. So some of our biggest questions, I suppose, is how much is this going to cost? Everybody thinks there's just this one universal price. And unfortunately, or fortunately, actually for you, there isn't a universal price. The price for your inspection is based specifically on your building. So I'm going to go over that today, how we prepare your proposal, what steps we take, what that looks like, so that way you fully understand that it does vary per building. Just excuse me today, I have a little cold, so in case I sound funny, that's why. Hopefully I'll be better in a couple of days. But for now, just bear with me. As always, I will be sharing my PowerPoint. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them to whichever side the comment box is on your screen, and I will do my best to get to them after I stop sharing my screen, or maybe before, if possible. So again, today we will be going over the Balcony One, SB326 and SB721 proposal process. How much will my inspection cost? How do we get to that price? And what the steps are, what they entail, what you have to do, and so forth. So I'm going to be sharing my screen. Again, ask questions at any time. I'll do my best to get to them. And without further ado, we shall begin. Hopefully, as always, everybody can see this. We'll be going over both SB721 and SB326 because the process, at least before your proposal, is exactly the same for both, as well as how we calculate cost. Of course, the calculations are different for both, but how we do it remains the same. This is me, Helen, with my information here. So briefly, a little background, SB326 and SB721. This is not something that is brand new. So I know we work with a lot of landlords, property management companies who aren't too thrilled about another mandate, but this wasn't just prepared yesterday. A lot of time has already lapsed because this was effective in 2019. And this pertains to all buildings with 3 or more units across the entire state. This is not county or city specific. This is across the entire state. And as of now, you will not be receiving a notice from your city, from the planning department, from building and safety about doing this. They're basically putting it on contractors or other companies to spread the word, as well as HOAs if they are at certain meetings and they're finding out, or just the responsibility of the landlord that the law is out, information has been passed. It is basically now everybody's responsibility to get this done. So again, it is for all buildings with 3 or more units. Regarding these specific elements that we are also going to go over today, they are called exterior elevated elements. And I'm going to be giving a lot of examples of which ones are necessary for the inspection and which ones are exempt too. So there may be some good news out of this, some silver lining if you have some exempt elements that do not need any inspection. Of course, it has to be made for human load, and basically just ask yourself, could this element collapse, cause injury, and fall, harming or killing somebody? And something else to it, it has to be wood frame as well. So even if you just see stucco on the exterior, you have to ask yourself what is beneath that stucco, because it's not just all stucco within the structure. Normally there's wood joist and wood structural elements that is part of your entire building structure and framing. So wood framed elements are what we are inspecting. Again, briefly, the general steps are get your quote, and this is what we're going to go over today, your element count. Make sure that the company you work with has the correct license, which I believe I will go over at the end. Do your inspection. The inspector then prepares your report under a certain timeline, and then only if necessary, if there are anything extremely hazardous to your tenants, do you have to do some repairs. So biggest question we get, how is my quote prepared? How much is it going to cost? What this comes down to is what we call an element count. We offer here at One Structural and Balcony One free element counts in order to prepare your proposal and see how much this inspection is going to cost you. So during our element count, we send our field technician, shout out to Jose, he's amazing. We send Jose, and of course, sometimes one of us does it as well if it's more urgent, or any of our team. We are all heavily trained in counting these things, inspecting them, what to look for, and so forth. So during this element count, we are looking at all of your exterior elevated elements and their associated waterproofing elements for things or elements such as balconies, walkways, landings. So your stairways and landings, decks, porches, stairways, entry structures, and their supports and railings. So sometimes even if you do have an exempt element, the waterproofing element or the railings or support system may still be necessary for the inspection. So now I thought I'll give you guys a visual of what we see and what we do and what we have to count. So what do we count and measure? These catwalks or walkways, even if they are internal within a courtyard or on any of the elevations of the building, these are what our technicians are measuring. So we measure the linear feet of these walkways. These have to get inspected. So as you see here, this isn't just a personal unit's balcony. So sometimes we will speak with somebody and they'll say, well, I don't even have balconies, so I don't have to do this. Okay, that's fine if you don't have balconies. Maybe you'll have less elements, maybe you won't, but these walkways or catwalks are necessary under the bill and law to get inspected. Here are some other examples as well. So these are some clear examples on the left of certain balconies, exterior elevated element that protrude out of the edge of the building. That's over 6 feet, wood framed, meant for human load, human capacity. So these, we would count how many balconies you have here, as well as measuring them too. So we'd measure and count how many. Another photo on the right shows that walkway, an exterior walkway that is not exempt. You do have to get this inspected. We would measure linear feet, and I will explain how we break that down for you. Here's one of our biggest questions and confusions as well. So on the left, you have some recessed balconies. So I know this appears to not be protruding out of the edge or cantilever over the edge of the building. However, even though it does not cantilever over, these balconies still must get inspected. This is because it still meets all of the requirements. It's over 6 feet, it's meant for human load, and there is uninhabited space underneath. So it could technically collapse, fall. It has in the past, historically from damage. So these recessed balconies on the left are not exempt, and you must get these inspected. Another example on the right of some walkways that must get inspected. Here's some stairways with their landings and support systems, as well as more walkways too, kind of from a different angle, because these also still meet all of the criteria for the inspection. Some more examples. Some walkways that wrap around the entire building definitely must get inspected. Balconies that you see on the right definitely must get inspected. As you can see though on the right where that umbrella is, that first floor patio, that is exempt. It can't collapse unless it'll, fall in a sewer and hit some rats. But other than that, it is exempt, and hopefully it won't fall at all. But that is not over 6 feet, and that is exempt. But that balcony / walkway above on the second floor must get inspected. Here are some examples of exempt elements. These kind of enclosed internal stairways, that is exempt. These, not sure what to call it off the top of my head, but these, I guess, sort of Romeo Juliet type, that is above dwelling, as you can see. So when a human is behind that sliding door, They are standing above habitable space. There is dwelling underneath them. So that is why these on the right are exempt. So you do not have to get anything on the right or left checked out. Other items that are exempt, any other balcony, even if it does protrude out and it's over 6 feet, but again, if it is over habitable space, like dwelling, it is exempt. And there was something else, again, if it's not wood framed, if it's CMU, concrete masonry type structure, that is also exempt. However, we do come across a lot of buildings that there is a parking garage on the first floor, and that parking garage is concrete masonry, but the dwelling above it, maybe that first floor dwelling above it may also be concrete. That balcony, that would be exempt. However, the ones that are now over 6 feet, more often than not, are still wood framed. That's just how a lot of these buildings were built at that time, that the first floor, that parking garage area, and maybe that first floor of units may be CMU, concrete masonry. However, all of the units above it with their elements and their walkways and their balconies are still wood framed. So all of those units with their, of course, if they have those exterior elevated elements, must still be inspected. And we would let you know during our count what's exempt and what is not, and we will have a breakdown of those elements. So that brings us now to the next step. Once our technician is completed with his walkthrough and the element count, we now have all of the information for how many X, Y, and Z's you have. So this is where the biggest difference is. SB721, which is for apartment buildings, only 15% of each type of element must get inspected. So let's say you have 13 8-foot balconies. 15% of that, and it's of course rounded up, would be 2 balconies would have to be inspected. So you can breathe some sigh of relief that not every single one will have to get inspected. Of course, our due diligence, as well as yours, just for liability purposes alone, we still will visually inspect everything. And if something does not pass that visual inspection, we will highly recommend more invasive testing for those. But let's say everything checks out, looks good. We are just going to be inspecting 2 of those balconies. I'm not going to get into the actual invasive inspection right now. We have other videos about that, or please just give me a call, email us, talk to any of our team, we'll explain. So right now it's just about how everything's calculated. The trickier one that we get asked about walkway, how is that broken down? Let's say you have 87 linear feet of walkway, 15% rounded up would be 14 linear feet would be inspected under SB 721. So as I mentioned, the biggest difference is SB 326, which is for HOAs, condo communities. The law requires a 95% certainty with our inspection. So basically all of your elements must be inspected. The difference comes into with SB 721, we are doing the minimally invasive inspection with our boreholes for, in this case, the 2 balconies, the 14 linear feet. However, with SB 326, we are doing a visual inspection for every single element, and only when a certain element fails that visual is when we do our borehole minimally invasive inspection. So what we're looking out for, of course, was any damage to the structure, anything visual, cracks, water intrusion. A lot of the times you can see on the underside of your balconies and walkways, if that stucco looks super dark and you can really see that type of visual damage, we absolutely would be doing our further testing on those elements. So briefly, I will just go over who can do the inspection and report. For SB 721, again, for apartment buildings, that could be a civil engineer, architect, structural, B general, building inspector, C5 framer. SB 326 is the biggest difference. A structural engineer or architect must do the inspection, not civil. And another question we always get is, I thought that the inspector cannot do the repair. This has been amended not too long ago. So now your inspector can do the repair, makes it easier for you. to have it be done all together if needed. And again, the repairs all have different requirements. SB326 actually doesn't have a firm requirement to get them. Access must be prevented, of course, but SB721 does. Different timelines. Give us a call to hear about that or check out my other videos. I believe that is all. So check out our most recent YouTube or Instagram videos where we have more of a walkthrough of what our element counts look like. So that is basically it for our SB326 and SB721. How much is it going to cost? Well, you know what? That isn't it, because obviously you guys are still wondering how much will this cost. In general, again, because as you can see, it varies per building, but you can expect to pay anywhere from, let's say $1,500 for if you meet the bare minimum, to anywhere from 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 if this is a larger community. So again, it really depends on the number of elements that you have, linear feet that you have, the condition that they're in. But again, the condition doesn't matter really for your inspection, because you have to get them inspected no matter what. Even if they appear visually to be in good condition, you still must do the inspection. And the deadline is coming up, you guys, January 1st, 2025, 15 months from now. What we've been sharing with our clients is from the moment, you even book our element count to, let's say, you sign with us, that takes some time. I'm sure you're comparing bids from everybody. Then when we book your inspection, which is a few weeks out from the moment you are ready to go, that's another few weeks. Depending on how large your building is, the inspection could take anywhere from 1 day to a week to 2 weeks if it's large HOA communities. Then we have a timeline of preparing the report for you. So all of this takes time, as you can see. It can honestly be from the moment you start collecting bids to having the report in your hand. It could be 6 months, so it's not that much time just because it's 15 months. So better late than never. It's also, your price is going to go up the closer you get to the end of next year, because the legitimate companies who can do this are going to be jam-packed. Remember, this is practically every single building in California that has to do this. It's different from the retrofit, which is city or county localized. This is everybody with 3 or more units across the entire state. So give us a call to book your, I'm just trying to put our information. Give us a call to book your SB721 or SB326 complimentary element count, so we can prepare your free quote. We do lunch and learns, presentations, board meetings, Zoom meetings, walkthroughs. Come to our office, we'll come to yours. It doesn't matter, whatever you guys are comfortable with, to help go over all of our proposal, our counts, the steps for the inspection, and anything else that you guys need. So this is my contact info. 323 Balcony will come to our office. Any of our division numbers will come to our office. We're all the same team. This is my email if you would like to book your element count and get a quote. So thank you, everybody. That is all for today. Again, check out our YouTube and Instagram pages under One Structural and Balcony One to hear more information. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.